Hey everyone, welcome to the Mind of Ro page. So, ever since I've been doing a lot of live videos, I've been speaking about the Neteru and the Orishas. But today I'm going to speak about our ancestors, and they're actually way more important to contact and learn how to work with than the Orishas and the Neteru, and I'm going to explain to you here in a minute on why. So today's going to be in the ancestors and also on Gede spirits, and I will explain who Gede is here in a minute. If you're not sure who ancestors are actually those who have passed away, as in our family who has passed away. So, cheers to our ancestors. Cheers to all those whose bodies have returned back to earth and are watching and guiding us from the heavens. I pour a little out to the ancestors. So before I get started, I want to tell everybody to please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Mind of Ro if you love my work, and please share my video. And I also have a Facebook business page that's at the Mind of Ro. That's not this page. If you would like to like that page, that would be lovely. So let's move on really quick. So today let's talk about our ancestors. Let's talk about why they're so important to contact. Before I get started, I'm going to tell you about the makeup. I'm sure a lot of you have noticed a lot of people in other cultures tend to wear skeleton makeup. I'm sure you've seen a lot of art where people wear half of their face as a skeleton, either top half or the most popular one, which is one side of the face. So skeleton, not only makeup, but decor actually represents the ancestors and Gede spirits, as in those who's passed away, because when we pass away, our body returns to earth, and the only thing that is left is our skeleton. And that's what skeleton makeup is, and that's what skeleton decor is about. When you see skeleton decor on people's tables during practices and stuff like that, that's actually what it represents. It basically means they're contacting spirits on their ancestor side, or Gede, or lower spirits who are warrior spirits who are here to help guide us and protect us on our journey and on our path. So please stop being fearful. A lot of people are like, oh, it's scary and it's demonic and blah, 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 blah. Well, you have a skeleton inside your body and you're not demonic. I mean, you could be, but I suppose you're not. But if you are, it's not because you have a skeleton. So can we please stop demonizing skeletons? Because this is what it represents. It represents paying our homage and our homage to our ancestors and those who's passed away and those whose bodies has returned back to what we call Gaia, or Mother Earth, or Father Earth, depending on how you want to see it or what culture you're coming from. So that's actually what it means. Okay, so now that you know what it means, let's move on without you being fearful of my makeup. So, why contact your ancestors? Ancestors are actually your closest link to the spirit realm. If you're going to speak to any spiritual being, you're going to speak to your ancestors first. They're the easiest ones to contact. They could also give you inspiration, information, guidance, help you solve problems, and help you with psychological and emotional relief. And what they're really concerned about is actually the well-being of your family. And this is the reason why a majority of the time our ancestors contact us, is because they're worried about our well-being, and because if you contact them a lot, they'll realize, hey, you could contact us, and they're going to want you to kind of, keep an eye on the well-being of your family here, because not everybody contacts your ancestors. So if you do end up contacting your ancestors, they're going to end up wanting you to speak to them more, because they're going to want you to help the family out in the physical realm, because they're watching from the heavens. And sometimes a lot of us don't hear them talking to us. So if you learn how to talk to your ancestors, they're going to come to you way more, because they're going to be able to tell you, hey, your cousin's going through this, or your child's going through this, or whatever, and they're going to want you to kind of help along with that. And I'm going to tell you here in a minute on how you could actually work with the ancestors by serving them to be able to help your family in the physical realm by working in the non-physical realm. I'm about to explain that here in a minute. But before I get started, I'm going to actually read a passage from a book called The Healing Wisdom of Africa by Maladoma Some. I probably botched her name, but this is the name of the book, is The Healing Wisdom of Africa. So this is why you would contact your ancestors. They're our extended family, and we are under the guidance and supervision of them. They safeguard our welfare and rights to avoid trouble, as in illness, disease, starvation, genocide, criminal and justice system, drug addiction, mass unemployment, etc. To have a connection to our very ancient source of energy. As you notice, a lot of people have been waking up to our ancestors' practices, and this is actually signs that your ancestors are contacting you. They are also good to contact to preserve tradition, the manner in which those who have lived before once walked and talked, the knowledge and practices that allow them to live long enough to bestow life upon others. This is crucial to life because to forget the way life used to be, let me say that one more time, sorry. Because to forget the way life used to be lived is to become endangered. As I'm sure you noticed, a lot of our ancestral work has been endangered, and it's just now starting to peak up again here recently. It's to heal you could also heal the ancestors through ancestral work as well. And when you heal your ancestors, you're actually healing yourself as well because their blood is within you. They are the blood of your blood and the bones of your bones. Therefore, if you help them ascend, you are helping yourself ascend as well. To develop and communicate with these spirits, allies that are waiting to become more active in our lives. Why you serve ancestors, as in giving them food, what I'm about to show you here in a minute, is because sometimes it's hard for them to give us messages because they're in the non-physical realm, and the more food you give them and drinks and offers you give them, it helps them be able to communicate better in the physical realm we are in now. Also, to get the medicine that will save us from our homeland. I'm sure you guys have heard about Big Pharma, and Big Pharma is actually something that is meant to hide us from our family's ancestors' herbalism. So when you contact your ancestors, they'll teach you a lot of herbalism and ways to heal in indigenous ways. To make changes to world peace and harmony with nature and community. To hear our second thoughts before we do something we're not supposed to. As in that conscious Jiminy Cricket kind of voice we have, sometimes we think it's us, and sometimes it's actually our ancestors speaking to us from the non-physical realm. So that we won't be predictable for our enemies, as in they can actually help guide you. Some of our ancestors are warrior spirits, and they can actually help protect you and guard you from those who wish harm on you, so that we won't have to be stressed out trying to live according to the dictates of a culture that is not ours and has no interest in us. Let me repeat, I'm sure a lot of you love that quote right there. So that we don't have to be stressed out trying to live according to the dictates of a culture that is not ours and has no interest in us. To follow the ancient wisdom our ancestors left for us, so that others who are being left behind will have a model, a roadmap, a way out this mess. To remember our way of the family, our way of the village for survival. To connect that ancient energy that does not allow us to not feel the pain of those around us, as in avoid the so-called inner happiness of the new age spirituality. So that spirit won't leave you because you want to be in charge. We need to understand that we are not alone, and a lot of us always feel like we're alone sometimes. I've had people message me a lot saying, I feel alone, I feel like I'm misunderstood, and blah, blah, blah. When you learn to communicate with your ancestors, you'll realize how alone you are not. And I mean never alone. They'll come visit you and have a conversation with you on your toilet. That's how not alone you really are. So just remember that you are not alone. You are never alone. So I'm just going to give you guys some advice on how to serve your ancestors. The most basic thing you can do is actually make an altar for them. And I'm going to switch the camera around here in a second so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to show you my mini altar that I made for myself. So because I'm first generation in America, I actually don't have a whole lot of family here. Therefore, I don't have a lot of information on my family or my ancestors' names who's passed away, or any images. My mom did pass away, therefore she's considered an ancestor now, so you can see a picture of my mother right there. So this is a basic way you can serve your ancestors. What you're going to do is you're going to get a table, and you're going to make sure the table is white. And if the table is not white, you could just get a white cloth like I did so, and cover the table with a white cloth. You're only going to use white stuff, white plates, white cups, or just clear glasses and white decor. unless you're working with Gede. Well, we're going to move on to that here in a second. So because what you want to do is you want to help lift the spirits of your ancestors, and this is why you want to have all white at their altar. And please, I want to stress this: if you have an altar for your ancestors, do not mix your ancestors that you're related to people you are not related to, or people who are still alive. Because if you mix a picture of a person who is still alive with your dead ancestors, you have a higher chance of having your ancestors want to pull that person into the ancestral realm. And you don't want to do that. You want to make sure those people stay in the physical realm on their own accord or on their own spiritual contract. You don't want to send a misguided message to your ancestors that you want them to take them with them. So make sure you only have images of your ancestors who's passed away. Do not have images of people that are still alive or of people who's passed away that is not your ancestor. You want to keep those separate. Okay? So what you're looking at right now is just a basic altar. The main things you want to give to your ancestors, or I'm going to give you the main things you always want to give your ancestors, is a cup of water. Food, every single time you eat, it's good to just have like one of these little saucer plates or little bowls. You don't have to give them a really big plate. The only time you want to give your ancestors a really big plate of food is if you're specifically sitting there and asking them to do specific work for you. For example, recently I had some issues with my sister, my daughter, and my cousin at the same time. And I was like, man, this is a lot of family issues, and they were all on my mother's side. Therefore, what I did was I made a big old plate. And this used to actually be filled up to here. And this is a sign that my ancestors have been working, because this used to be way up here, and then now it's down here. That means the ancestors actually took the energy of that alcohol, and they actually were doing the work that not only they spiritually told me to do, but also that I decided to do as well. So, and coffee, because the energy of coffee gives energy, so it helps them have energy in the physical realm when you offer them coffee. And rum, the best thing to offer them is rum, or any other liquor. Actually, I guess you could offer them other things like vodka or whatever, but I would suggest rum is the most typical, common one you want to offer, because majority of ancestors in the past drank a lot of rum, and I mean centuries and centuries and centuries ago. It's a very old alcoholic beverage. So what we want to do is, when we talk to our ancestors, we're actually going back 16 generations back. We're not talking about just your grandma or your great-grandparents. We're talking 16 generations back, okay, when we set up an altar for our ancestors. Always have a white candle, and they love cigars. So what you're going to do is you could basically just smoke the cigar like I did earlier, like you see me at the beginning of the video, and you're going to blow smoke for them and basically kick it with your ancestors and talk to them. And if you have a request from them, if you're like, hey, like for example, I had a situation recently where I feel like I had a fallout with my sister, and I needed some help from my ancestors on the other side to, so we could have a better understanding of each other, and for them to speak to her from the non-physical realm. And just let you know, if you tell your ancestor to speak to one of your family members from the non-physical realm, a lot of times we're being spoken to and we have no idea we are. Sometimes that little voice in the back of our head is actually our ancestors. So what I did was I had one of the 7-day candles. See if I can have one here to show you. Let me grab, hold on one second. Let me show you what it is. So this one's burnt out right now, but this is a 7-day candle right here. And basically what you would do is, what I did was I wrote my sister's name on one side, my daughter's name on one side, and my cousin's name on one side, because that's the work that I wanted them to do, because whatever issues that I had within my family. And I lit the candle, I put it on the altar, and I gave them a big plate of food to give them the energy to be able to do that work from the ether, or the heavenly gate, or non-physical realm, or whatever you want to call it. But so just know, the more food you give them, the more active you're going to be able to make them be. So if you're not asking any requests from them, if all you want to do is basically just kind of chop it up with them and maybe just ask them questions, you don't need to do all that. You can just give them something really small, like a little play. Have you noticed I have some candy and some fruit here? So just know you don't have to make them a big giant plate unless you're specifically asking them to do some kind of work. And that's the only time you need to offer them a really full plate, as if you're feeding an actual person in front of you. So let me repeat, the main things you always want to have at your ancestors' table is a white cloth, alcohol beverage like rum, coffee, water, food, and a cigar, and a white candle, and of course their images And what I do is I offer them change to help me manifest money into my own life. And that's why I have that. You don't have to do that, but you can if you're having some ancestral money issues. A lot of times when we have money issues, it has to do with colonialism. So it's good to be able to serve your ancestors on the other side money, so they could kind of help you lift up that soul agreement that we tend to have that has to do with poverty. Sometimes we have a soul agreement with to have poverty because that's how our ancestors were. Especially if you're a melanated person, we tend to have a lot of ancestors that were in poverty because of colonialism. So it's good to offer your ancestors some change, or even talk to them about, hey, can you help, or can you please not push me to have the poverty vow, which is a great thing to do as well. So I'm going to turn this camera around really quick. This is just a basic view of what I have here for an ancestor altar for you that you could have at home. Have you noticed too, it's not really that big. You see how small it is compared to my hand. It's not super duper huge. It doesn't have to be super duper big. It could be small. It could be just a little tiny table in a corner. It doesn't have to be like a dining room table or a giant corner table or anything like that. So anything to show respect for your ancestors is definitely going to be a plus on their side, because if you respect them, they're going to respect you back. So before I move on to Gede spirits, I just want to read you a passage that you could actually say to your ancestors out of this book real quick, page 42. But before I say this closure about the ancestors, this is something you could actually say to your ancestors. I'm about to read it here in a minute. But before I read it, I'm just going to tell you my personal experience by working with the ancestors. So my personal experience from working with my ancestors is I've realized that, we already know that we have a lot of bad habits from our ancestral line. We picked up habits from our parents that they picked up from their parents and their parents and their parents and so on. So we tend to have this, let's say a lot of people always say, well, it's in my blood to be temperamental. True, it can be, but we also need to make the conscious choice to choose otherwise. And working with your ancestors is a great way to do that. Something that I realized is I had a dream of I think it was a great uncle on my father's side that kept approaching me in my dreams, and he was really, really judgmental, saying he doesn't like what I do, he doesn't agree with it. He was in the military, and he was judging me and saying that I need to stop, I need to do something else. But I already know what my soul contract is, and I know why I'm here. So this is also something to know about your ancestors, is sometimes they'll try to live through you. And that's not good, because you already have your own soul, and you already have your own purpose. And those who's already passed away has already had their chance. So it's not good to allow your ancestors to kind of dictate and tell you what your purpose is, especially if you already know what your purpose is and what you want to do. If you feel like you're hitting a lot of roadblocks, either A, you're making a wrong choice, or B, some of your ancestors are getting in the way of your success. So it's best to do ancestral work and be aware of voices that you're hearing in your head that sometimes we think is our voices, but it's actually an ancestral energy around you saying, hey, you shouldn't do this. So for a while, I was getting this feeling in me that I feel like I'm being judged all the time. Like, oh, why am I feeling this way? No one has really, maybe some people have maybe said something in the past, but I just felt like this energy that someone was sitting there saying, you shouldn't be doing this, and pointing their finger at me. And I was like, who the fuck is judging me, right? I had a dream of an uncle that approached me a couple times, and he was like saying, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And this is what I did. I spoke to my ascended ancestral beings. So know that when you speak to your ancestors, you could choose to only speak to your ascended ancestors. That way you're getting a much better guidance, because just because somebody passed away, it doesn't mean they're ascended, because the bad habits they had in the physical realm, they could still have in the non-physical realm. So just be mindful of that. So what I did was I contacted my ascended ancestors and asked for guidance. I told them, hey, I have an uncle on my father's side that is judging me and pointing fingers at me and making me feel really judged all the time and making me feel angry because I'm soaking in his energy, and I don't like the way it's making me feel, because I know what I want to do for myself and I don't want to feel like this. So the next day after I made some offers to my ancestors, that feeling actually left me. And then I had a dream of some light being speaking to him. And he was a little argumentative, saying, hey, it's not fair, blah, blah, blah. And they were basically guiding him to say, hey, back off a little bit. And ever since I did some ancestral work on my father's side that I feel was being really judgmental of what I do, I felt less judgmental of myself. So this is something that I've realized, that sometimes if we're judging ourselves, or sometimes if we always have this voice like we're not good enough, or you need to do this, or blah, 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 it's our ancestors doing that. So it's good to speak to your ascended ancestors. So what you could do is you could offer them food or drinks or everything that I just listed recently, and say, this is an offer for my ascended ancestors. Because something that I realize is I offered, because my father is actually German, so I offered some food for my father's side. So know that when you offer food for your ancestors, you could offer food or offers to either one to your mother's side or to your father's side. So I made offers to my father's side, and as soon as I did that, I realized that's when my uncle started coming forth. Because basically what I did was I gave him some energy to be able to come to the physical realm and communicate the way he did. But the mistake that I made was I just made an offer to all ancestors on my father's side, instead of saying this is an offer for my ascended ancestors. So this is my personal experience working with the ancestors. I feel like I've done a whole lot of healing since then. I know if I feel like if I have any bad habits I may have picked up from my family, like my mother, that because I wasn't raised by my real father, so I don't know what I've picked up from him. I don't know him. I don't remember him. I was raised by my mother, so there are certain quirks and certain things that I do realize that I don't like sometimes, that I would like that to be healed. So I've noticed when I serve the ancestors, the more often I do it, the better I am. Like, the less triggery I am, the less temperamental I am, and the less bad habits that I have that I got from that side of the family. So this is why we work with our ancestors, why it's really important to work with our ancestors. And know that if you do try to contact the Orishas or the Neteru and you're unable to, sometimes it's because you're getting a blockage from your ancestors, and they could actually feel like, well, hey, why are you contacting them but you're not contacting us? So they will actually block you and put up a wall, a spiritual wall, and be like, well, you can't contact them until you work with us. And so it's best to be able to do that. And also because a lot of Orishas and Neteru, some of them are hot and some of them aren't. So it's best to get a lot of practice by learning how to contact your ancestors before working with any ascended being, because your ancestors are a lot easier to communicate with. They're easier to hear, they're easier to see, they're easier to feel. So you get it's good practice, and it's also really great healing, not only for you but for your physical family who's here in the now. Because what you could do with your ancestors is, if you have a spat with, if you're not getting along with your mom, you're not getting along with your daughter or son, or if you're not getting along with a cousin or a sibling or whatever, you could actually make offers to the ancestors. And what it'll do is help heal that relationship and help bring your family together, because your ancestors in the non-physical realm want you to be tight with your family. I know a lot of people who watch this is in America. I'm sure everybody is not in America, but a good majority of people who watch my videos are in America. And Americans tend to not be as family-oriented as maybe some other countries. Not saying all, but when it comes to this society, we're just not as family-oriented. Over here, we're like, well, as soon as you turn 18, get the hell out, you know? When a lot of other families, especially centuries ago, was you would live in the same home with a lot of your family for a very, very long time. To a much older age, you're a lot more family oriented. So a lot of your ancestors who's been passed away for a long time have that same kind of mentality and same kind of energy. So if you want some help to get along with some of your family members and having some issues, let's say, for example, if you're having issues with your father, then what you're going to do is you're going to speak to your father's side of the family ancestors. If you're having issues with your sibling that has the same father and mother, then you would work with both sides. If you have a sibling that's only related to only your mother's side, let's say you have the same mom but different father, then you would do ancestral work from your mother's side, for example, so you know how to do it. If you have issues with your mom, you're not going to go talk to your father's side, you know, that wouldn't make any sense, you know. So just when you work with the ancestors, know you have a choice to either work with your mother's side or your father's side or both. So the more detailed you are with the offers and the requests and aiming for who you want to speak to, the better it actually works. If you do not know all the names of your ancestors, like myself, the best thing to do is just call on the characteristics of the ancestors that you would like to speak to. For example, you would say, I call on all my ancestors that are healers, doctors, teachers, mystics, scientists, any characteristic that you feel would help you on your path. Those are the ancestors you want to call. Or you could keep it pretty basic and just say, hey, I call on my ascended ancestors on either both sides or one side, whatever you want to do. If you do not know all the names of your family that has passed away, if you do know the names, then it's good to be able to say the names and be able to introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm so and so, and I would like to contact auntie whoever, or uncle whoever, or grandma whoever. And then you would state their whole entire name so they could hear you in the ether and know specifically that that's who you would like to speak to. So I'm just going to give you a really short passage really quick that you could actually say at your altar when you're finished speaking to them. So I just described how you would call on them, as in saying their attributes or their names. And then after you're done speaking to them, you could either just physically sit there and talk to them like you're talking to any other person, or you could sit in front of the altar and you could meditate. If you're a very mystical person, you could. It's good to just sit in front of them, and then in front of the altar that you made, and just sit in silence and see if you get any messages during meditation, any images, hear any voices, feel any emotions. The number one thing you want to look for when sitting in front of your altar is see what you feel like. If you know how you felt before you did it, and then all of a sudden when you sit down, now all of a sudden you feel maybe sadness or excitement or anger or anything that just all of a sudden just perks up in you, just know majority of the time that means it's an ancestor that is approaching you and trying to communicate with you. So when you do meditate in front of your ancestor's altar, be very mindful of the way you feel, be mindful of your emotions, and if you close your eyes, just take note of images that you see. If you don't understand what you see, maybe you just see like a ladle, or maybe you just see like a cross, or whatever, for example. It's good to just write it down or draw what you've seen, and maybe later on it'll eventually come to you. So don't give yourself a hard time if you see some images. Don't get frustrated. Don't be like, oh, I don't understand. Just write it down, take note. Eventually you'll get it. You might take a while to get it. Maybe you'll get it right away, and maybe it'll take a week for you to understand what the image was. Maybe it'll take a month. But if you don't get it right away, just say, hey, ancestors, can you help me understand this? And eventually the answer will come to you in due time. So you just got to be patient. So when you're done with the request, if you're done doing the meditation or speaking to your ancestors, this is basically what you're going to say to close out. Great guardians of all directions, spirit keepers of all elements, all those who walked before me, I thank you for your guidance and presence here today. I carry your love with me as we part in peace. May my prayers be heard, and I pray that I have not come to you in vain. You may now prepare to return to your spirit world. Ashe, ashe, ashe. So when you do call on them, make sure you close out. You don't want your ancestors walking around your apartment. Unless you do, that's cool. But it's good to always close out and tell them to ascend. Tell them, hey, it's okay, you can ascend. Just basically ascend. So you just basically say ascend, ascend, ascend. Or you could just say what I said here. Let me repeat it one more time. I said, you may now prepare to return to your spirit world. Ashe, ashe, ashe. So those are basically things you could say, because this is something I realized. My spouse, not too long ago, he did some ancestral work, and he forgot to tell him to ascend. I went to use the bathroom that day, and I swear I seen somebody peeking in the bathroom door. I seen somebody standing there and go away, and I looked out the curtain, and I was like, babe, why is there... I swear I thought I seen you down here that looked through the door. And he was like, oh no, that's the ancestors, I forgot to tell them to ascend. So just be mindful that might happen. You don't have to close off, but if you kind of want your privacy, it's good to say ascend, 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 so they're not kind of hanging out your apartment all day long. And also wear white. If you do not have white, there is actually a specific powder you could get that they actually use in a lot of African practices. It's basically eggshells smashed into like a chalk, and what you can do is use it to rub on your forehead. I can't remember the name, but as soon as I'm done with this video, I will get the word for that, and I will leave a comment on this post or on this video so you can know what it is. So you could go online and order it for yourself. If you don't have any all white clothes, you could basically use this chalk and then put it on your forehead. And the reason why you want to wear white or do this when you speak to your ancestors is because you don't want to soak in your ancestors' energy. You want to be able to just have your own energy. And the reason why you don't want to soak in your ancestors' energy is because it defeats the whole purpose of doing ancestral work. So the reason why you do ancestral work is to get rid of habits that do not serve you and to be healed from ancestral energies that you don't want anymore, and to be able to live your higher purpose, your spiritual purpose, and to not keep repeating over and over and over again what your ancestors keep doing over and over and over again. You want to be able to ascend beyond it and be able to start and lead better habits, a better way of living from your ancestral line. Not saying all your ancestors are like that. I'm just saying, for example, we're human. We all have our bad habits. And a lot of our ancestors that recently just passed away are still kind of like how they were when they passed away. They still carry that energy. So it's good to wear all white or to mark your head with the substance I just mentioned earlier, so you're not soaking in your ancestors' energy. So before I move on, something I realize is some people who do ancestral work tend to like to eat their ancestors' food. Now, if you are only doing ascended ancestral work and you know for a fact that only ancestors are coming in and eating the food, but I'm going to suppose you don't know for a fact, because sometimes you could say, I only want ascended ancestors to eat this food, and sometimes I don't want to sneak in and be like, hey, coming in too. It is what it is. Eating your ancestors' food is kind of like not wearing white when you work with them. Basically, what you're doing is you're soaking in their energy, and you don't want to do that. You want to have your own energy, and this is why you just be very mindful of eating your ancestors' food. It is best to just offer them things, and then after about 3 days to just throw it away. Either return it to earth, throw it outside with earth, or just throw it away. However your higher self tells you that you feel like you should get rid of the food. So just be mindful of that. So moving on, let's talk about Gede spirits. So I know a lot of you have maybe seen me mention Gede spirits on my Facebook page. And I keep having people approach me, Gede, Gede, Gede. So if you've ever heard of Loa spirits, Gede is basically a lot like Loa spirits, but they're related to you. Gede spirits has been around since the beginning of mankind. They have been here for centuries, centuries, and centuries, and they will be here for another centuries. And they're basically your ancestors, but they're not ascended. A lot of them are actually warrior spirits. You could have regular ancestors that are warrior spirits, but they're not Gede spirits. How do you know they're Gede spirits? Is because if you have a spirit approach you, you dream of them, or you see them in the corner. Sometimes you will see them in the corner of your eye sometimes if you're in a sleepy kind of state or meditative state, or a more emotionally sensitive state of mind around that time. They tend to look like skeletons. They'll show up to yourself, and usually they're wearing a suit. Sometimes you'll see females, but a good majority of the time you're going to see male Gede, and they wear suits, and they usually look like old suits, and a lot of them will show up in hats, as you can see here, like the one that I'm wearing, top hats, and skeleton faces. That's how you know you're being approached by Gede. So please don't be scared. Gede spirits, if they are your ancestral Gede spirits, they're actually here to protect you. They give you really pretty good advice, and they're actually very humorous. Because they are not super ascended beings, their energy is a lot different than regular ancestors and ascended ancestors. This actually goes with the makeup that I'm wearing, because a lot of Gede spirits actually work with white energy and black energy, and some just work with black energy. It just depends on the Gede spirit. Some of them work with a little more white energy than black energy. What I mean by frequency, if you're not sure exactly what I mean, it's hard to explain. I guess it has to do with high frequency, low frequencies. Basically what it means is Gede spirits are here to protect you differently than the way your ascended ancestors are here to protect you. So if you ask for protection from your ascended ancestors, they're the kind of beings that will kind of send light. But just to let you know, if some people are hella toxic, I don't care how much light you send to them, their soul would not accept it, and it just doesn't work because it doesn't match their frequency. So basically, Gede spirits, who are your ancestral Gede spirits, are here to protect you from those who wish harm on you, those who purposely get in the way of your success. Gede spirits are here to protect you from those people in a much darker fashion, as in I'm gonna just be honest with you, they can hurt people, but just to let you know, they do it in a way that they know other people's souls, they know what other people's intentions are, they not only know how they are treating you, but they know how they're treating other people. And because they're in the spiritual realm, it is their place to decide what they deserve and what they do not deserve in their life, and associated to the way they are treating you, who is the Gede's ancestor. So because they're here to protect you, the more work that you do with Gede spirits, the less chance you're going to have people who want to sabotage your happiness or sabotage your life or come and bring chaos or any constant trouble into your life. And if you're not ready to work with any of the Netaru or the Orishas, your ancestral Gede spirit are basically like the same thing, but they're actually related to you. They once lived here on Earth and they've passed away. Their body has returned back to Earth, and they're in the ether, and they're in the non-physical realm, and they're actually a lot easier to contact than any one of your other ancestors, because they dwell usually in the fourth dimension. It depends on the Gede spirit. Some of them can be in higher dimensions, which is something I need to meditate on, because my personal experience with a Gede spirit that has approached me, I cannot give his name, I don't feel comfortable, but he has not only approached me multiple times, he has approached my spouse, and he has showed up at one of my friends' houses, which is hilarious. This is my personal experience with one of my most popular Gede ancestral spirits, that it came to me in a dream that one of my great grandmothers on my mother's side was actively in the slave trade from when they brought the Yoruba people to South America. Is one of my great grandmothers who worked with this Gede spirit. And you know, how do I know it wasn't just a dream? This is how I know. He approached my spouse, and he said this being came to him and kept saying his name. I'm not going to say his name. And he stated he stated what his energy felt like and what his personality kind of felt like. And he told me this is his name. And I was like, yeah, that's him. That's my Gede spirit. And then I was at my friend's house one time, and her son was like, hey, while you were at work, I seen a spirit in your, when he said your room, it was a room that I was sleeping in at the night before. He was like, I noticed there was a spirit in your room wearing a gray suit. And he kind of creeped me out a little bit. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's my Gede spirit. So this is how I know that he is legit and I'm not making it up. And he is for sure a Gede spirit through my ancestral line that tends to follow me around. I'm actually sitting right in front of his altar right now. I mixed him with my other altar. I'm going to flip the camera around here in a minute. So I'm basically just going to show you some basics. I don't have a whole lot of Gede stuff, but I'm actually glad Halloween is here, because Halloween has a whole lot of Gede stuff. When I say Gede stuff, I mean skeleton decor and the skeletons with like the little flowers and stuff like that. So I'm actually really excited for all the Halloween stuff to come out, because I'm going to start making an altar for my Gede companions. So let me just turn the camera around really quick so I can show you what I did. So I have my specific Gede. No, I don't have all Gedes. I have my one specific Gede that likes to speak to me and come around and show himself to other people that are around me here. And I actually got this at the dollar store right here. I love the dollar store. So I have some of his stuff in here. I'm not going to really show it too much, but I have some stuff that is for him in here, and I keep it covered. The reason why I do is because he's kind of private and stuff, so I don't want his stuff out. And something told me he wanted to have his stuff hidden anyways, so that's how I have my Gede altar. A lot of people have basically a lot of candles that are bright colors, like pink and purple and stuff like that to have Gede altars, candles, and skulls like this. And that is the best way to honor your ancestral Gede spirit, or paint your face like I did. And this is why I have the half face, because my specific Gede spirit that approaches me a lot is actually half light and half dark. So that's what these faces represent. If you see a lot of stuff on the internet, or Halloween makeup, or New Orleans makeup, and they have the half face like this, and now their half face kind of looking normal, or like looking pretty on one side and looking dead on one side, that's actually what it means. So this is darkness, and then this is light, and be able to work with both energies, and the balance of both energies is basically what that means. So to honor Gede, just be mindful that some of them can be a little hot spirited. They are very, very funny, and every person I have ever talked to that said they've had experience with Gede spirits, they are very jokey, and if you come and speak to them, they like to make fun of you. They like to joke around. They cuss a lot. They like to curse a lot. They like to joke around, play around. They have a very funny, very sense of humor, fun sense of humor, to just be mindful of that. You could basically do the same thing that you did with the regular altar, is cover it with a white cloth. And I don't know if it has to be white. I need to get some more information on that. But basically what you want to do is decorate the altar with skulls and offer them the same things that you would offer a lot of warrior spirits or lower spirits, which is basically rum and cigars. If you feel like you're getting a little too much Gede energy around you because you're serving them a lot of food, like a little too often, because if you do that, you're going to basically make them to be a lot more physical in your world, which means you're going to feel their presence around your home a lot. They can make a lot of noise. They can knock things over. They can make it feel like your house is being haunted if you call them a lot, because their energy is a lot closer to physical energy as any other spirit that you could speak to. So just be mindful that if you do give them a lot of offers, you could bring them into your home, and they tend to make a lot of noise, and they could actually say a lot of very even insulting things to you, because that's just their sense of humor. So just be mindful, that's how they are. You can't change them. This is just who they are, and this is how they are. They're funny, but if it's too much for you to handle, you could basically just offer them water and cool them off. What you're going to do is you're going to leave a glass of water at their altar to cool off their energy, and you could still serve them and still speak to them while cooling them off. Just because you gave them water does not mean they're not there listening. It just basically means you want their energy to be cooled off, as in you don't want them coming to your home knocking things over or saying profanities in your ears and stuff like that. So that's just my advice to working with Gede spirits. Please work with your regular ancestors before working with Gede spirits. If you're a very fearful person, or just if you're not ready for it, then it's okay to not be ready for it. Practice with your regular ancestors first. You don't have to do a Gede altar. Some people do, some people don't. If you do not do a Gede altar, nothing bad's going to happen to you. It's not for everybody, but just know, if you do, this is how you do it. It's no different than your regular ancestors, and you just basically cool them down with a glass of water or a shot of water. So that being said, I hope everybody loves my videos. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Mind of Ro, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. I also have a TikTok, and I also have a business page on Facebook, which is not this one. It is facebook.com/themindofro, and I also have a TikTok and a Twitter and an Instagram, and I also have a Snapchat that is not at Mind of Ro. All my other sites are at Mind of Ro, but my Snapchat is actually Little Roro 253, LILRORO 253. So I hope everybody is having a peaceful, warrior-centered day. I pay my respects to the Gede spirits that protect me. Ashe.